No problem, there we go. 2 years ago, I started to work at a new school, and it was a school designed to travel uncharted waters. It was school design with a vision to meet the future and to explore digital and physical landscapes of learning. As always, when you travel uncharted waters, we had nothing to show us the way. Schools has by tradition been about classrooms and the teacher in a front center position and the control that is supplied by it. This school was designed with learning spaces to fit different needs and situations, and to put the pupil in the center of the learning process. Here you can see the 5 pedagogical principles that our school are built from, and they can both apply to digital and physical learning spaces. For example, the first one, the show-off, could be the blue mountain that you saw on the first picture, but it can also be a website or a blog, any place where the children can show off their work. Okay, that was something. Okay, sorry. All these new opportunities was fantastic, but it was also really hard because my head was full of amazing ideas how we would work together, how we would create our own digital books, and how social media would connect the pupils to the world and be that show-off where they could write for a real audience. Music would be created in GarageBand and added to the movies that we were going to present at our own YouTube channel. And this was easy for some children, but we had all kind of children at our school. And some of them were not used to tasks that required them to be creative and that had no given answers. And they were certainly not used to the freedom appealed by our learning spaces. So from day one, I had to rethink my way of working. When I couldn't count on the classroom or my front center position to be my tool to manage control, I needed to see what really motivated the pupils to work. And I needed to teach them self-leadership in a school that actually looked more than a playground than a school. Not to mention all the distractions that is a natural part of a digital school. And all this made me shift focus from methods regarding how to teach, because I knew I could give them methods and knowledge regarding future learning, but how could I make them see that they needed it and be eager to explore it themselves? So it made me focus on the inner process, the inner mechanics of the learning process, and the human who steps into the unknown. What motivates us and what skills do we need, not just to survive, but to master an uncertain future? I talked to a friend who works with programming. He got headhunted to one of these offices that Google gives a call when they want something cool to be done to the web browser. And the first thing he did to adapt to this new and really creative and innovative environment was to buy a big pair of headphones. And it was not to listen to music, it was to keep all the distractions out. It was this open office landscapes and people listening to music, having conversations everywhere, and they were playing ping pong and soccer games while doing it. And at first he was overwhelmed by this confusing way of running an office, but soon he found his strategies to cope with the new environment. And that is one reason why he will keep on being successful. And I don't know if this is the way all our workplaces will look like in the future, but what I do know is that we don't know. So if we want to prepare our children for an uncertain future, we need to teach them how to cope and adapt with changes, and how to relate to an inconstant digital world. So, while many schools still stay focused on teaching different contents that belongs to different subjects, I would rather see an increased focus on skills that belongs to the field of self-leadership. Sir Ken Robinson say in a speech at the School of Life that all in life is about energy. So How do we spend our energy during the day? Does the way we spend our energy lead us closer to the meaning of our task? This leads us to the importance of focus and flow, the skill to remain focused on the purpose on your task. Since we are a school where everyone holds their own computer, this is essential to us. But I guess it is to any workplace that has computers. Because I guess it's not just kids that sometimes think that maybe playing a game or like World of Warcraft or doing something else is more fun than doing their work. Instead of blocking the internet or putting restrictions to it, I think we need to learn how to handle it. Because if we learn how to deal with digital distractions, we increase our ability to take on that kind of challenges that eventually leads us to flow. And the brain loves flow, and you can see a connection between flow and how much dopamine your brain produces. So the skill to remain focused on the purpose of your task will in the end make you happier and more successful. And I guess constantly checking your Facebook status might not. I addressed this issue to my pupils by the use of gamification. Most 10 to 12-year-old kids are not ready to handle a digital world on their own if they have their own laptop. I saw how much time they spent constantly checking the social networks, seeing what was new on the tube that day, or just interrupting each other's focus by showing their friends things on the computer. So to me, it was like the internet became their enemy instead of being the perfect tool that I saw could be in their schoolwork. So by creating a game called The Quest for the Lightning Bolts, I visualized the school day as a game. And in the game they had certain skills they could improve. Skills that would make them better prepared to handle all the challenges that they met in their school day. And the skills we chose to work with was focus, responsibility, collaboration, and courage. They could either increase their energy by working well together with the skills, or they could lose energy from monsters. And the monsters were identified by the pupils themselves and had names such as the YouTube monster, the Facebook monster, or the conflict monster, the worst one. So by asking them the question that what if the school day was a game? What would be the highest level and what stops you from reaching it? I made them reflect upon their own monsters and how to fight against them. And soon we could see a quick change in the way they acted in school because they saw how much better they did when they practiced the skills. And after a while we didn't need the game anymore because they had their own little toolbox to make sure that energy went to the right things during the day. The next thing I want to emphasize is sustainability, both regarding ourselves and the society. That is why schools need to see who is beyond grades and goals and work with the whole person. You can do that and still work with the different subjects from the curriculum. You can talk about existential questions or what you eat to stay healthy or the functions of the brain in the context of being the leader in your own life. When we worked with the world religions, we gave the pupils the task to create their own philosophy of life. And if I want to make my pupils see that they have to eat the school lunch, I show them a picture of the brain and we talk about the different functions and what food does to make them going during the day. So what does every child need to grow? It is so much easier to see that if you stand next to them instead of looking from above, from a desk or anything. At my school, we work every week with the personal development of the child. They have their own plan in their IUP, and it is as important to give feedback regarding that as it is how well they do in math or geography or any subject. And we don't give them homeworks. Some parents are worried about that fact, but I fully believe that children learn things on their spare times that is just as important than any homework given by the school. and that is less stressful and more fun. And I think it could be one reason why most of our kids are happy to come to school. And there are school systems all over the world that seek inspiration from our school. They come from South Korea, Finland, Argentina, Russia, Belarus, and they want to see what we do to seek inspiration for their own school systems. And some of them do pretty well at standardized tests, but regarding searching the learning for the future, they're looking for something else. They're looking for happiness, happiness, and creativity and independence. So what else do we need to encourage a learning for the future? You need the skill to be able to step out of your comfort zone. I'm not afraid to translate my inner process to the pupils, because we are on this journey together. I can't talk about change and then do things the way I have always done them. You have to practice what you preach. And to me it has been a balance between routines that give a sense of safety, but also give the space for failure and success. And it's important that they know that failure is a natural part of the process before you finally reach success. So if we are going to do something unfamiliar, or if I want one of my pupils to take on a new role in a project to do something, I use this picture and we talk about it. That every time you're about to do something new and step out of your comfort zone, at first it will hurt. You will feel scared. And your first reaction will be to turn right back in again to your cozy comfort zone. But it won't make you progress. And nothing will happen if you always do that. But if you just stay persistent and keep on walking, you will eventually get out on the other side. And you will grow as a person and you will learn new things. The next thing I want to talk about is the infusion of the new and the old. Because seeking the learning for the future is not about tossing everything from the last century overboard. Literature, for example, is one such thing. So if I'm going to work with a book, one in paper, you know, an old-fashioned one with my pupils, I use the digital arena to create the interest and to deepen their understanding. So we start with creating a digital map together. I pick pieces from the content in the book, and I collect things at the website. It could be, for example, we worked with a book called The Green Circle, a science fiction novel, and in the book there were one of the main characters were really fond of Ingmar Bergman, and I wasn't sure that they knew who Ingmar Bergman was. So I took a few clips from his movies and added to the website and links where they could find out information. And when we watched it, one of my pupils said, "Oh, I've seen one of this, a parody from a modern TV show." So we watched that one too. And we talked about how he had affected modern films and TV shows. And after that, they were so much more likely to pay interest in the destiny of the main character than before. Another way I tried to use the digital arena together with literature is letting the pupils role play a character from the book at Twitter. What you can see here is from when we read the Hunger Games. So after every chapter, they went on to Twitter and they tweeted what they thought their character thoughts was and impressions after that. This way they can both reflect upon the way the use and communication of social media and the thoughts and destiny of the character in the book. It is also about knowing your roots and your history. Great pedagogical thinkers at the end of the 19th century saw a new age coming with the Industrial Revolution, and they wanted the children to be prepared for the changes. So they taught them how to trust in themselves, not just the school authorities. They wanted them to be able to raise their voice in a new society and how to learn democracy. And we are in the middle of a digital revolution right now, and democracy is a natural part of our children's life. But what we can learn from history is that looking back is not going to solve any problems for the future. We might have disciplinary problems in many schools today, but the road towards leaving the strong disciplinary school behind us, it started 200 years ago. So as a result of that, we now need to work with self-leadership. Strong voices in the debate around school think that this is the same way, or are afraid that this is the same way as letting go of control or leave the children behind, that it is a proclamation that we will no longer leave schools or teachers, but it is not. It doesn't mean that we are going to leave the pupils alone searching for knowledge in a digital flood of information. It means standing really close to them, embrace their thoughts and curiosity, and to lead the way by adding inspiration and new perspectives and thoughts, and the wisdom of the generation and society before. To do that, you need to know your subject really well, and you need to have a deep understanding of the human and the learning processes. And as a conclusion, I want to say, it is not about demoting the role of the teacher. It is about teachers having the confidence to develop together with their pupils. Then we are on the road toward the future of learning. Thank you.